This episode of Olympia Salvage is brought to you thanks to the generous support of the Washington State Department of Ecology. In this episode of Olympia Salvage, the team uses a bunch of old doors to build a portable house. It is the mission of Olympia Salvage to promote environmental sustainability, to divert building materials from the waste stream, and to provide affordable alternatives to the consumption of our limited natural resources. Today's project does exactly that. Executive Director of Olympia Salvage, Jessica Ray, explains.
One of the ways that we want to increase community awareness and partnerships is to have community workshops available.
We got the doors, we got them cut, we got the edges trimmed the way we want them. We're going to bolt these things in there.
One thing that we've found that people say deters them from using salvaged materials is that there's a concern about how it meets building code requirements, or maybe they see a door or a piece of wood and they don't need a door or a piece of wood. Well, what we'd like to create and open up for people is the understanding that a material that was used once in a particular way can be used for an entirely different reason somewhere else. The project that we're working on right now is a workshop that was co-sponsored by the Department of Ecology through what they call a public participation grant. And this grant had to do specifically with portable housing. So what we did is we started completely backwards and we looked around in our warehouse and we said, what do we have an abundance of? And what was overwhelming was that we had wooden doors. So my husband designed a tiny portable housing unit out of doors. And we have used doors for the floors, we've used doors for the walls, we're using doors for the roofing, and windows and all the other things that we have here. The only thing that is not coming out of our warehouse is the bolts to hold it all together in the end run. So we are going to be putting this on a flat bed trailer, and it can be hitched up and taken wherever you need it to go. It will include a shower, a bed, a sofa, a cooktop, and that's it.
Okay, what we did yesterday was we got introductions done, figured out who was safe with tools and who wasn't, and then we went ahead and kind of described how we're going to go about building this thing. Ruben had a floor plan we were going to work with, and then kind of explained this is going to be a collaborative process where everybody has input and we all have really good ideas, and just a matter of coming to like a consensus and figuring out, you know, how it all should go together. And if that's going on a hopper window, we got to make a header of some kind.
Going across.
We looked at the materials we had, which is just tons of doors, some beams, lots of hardware, a bunch of windows, and we figured that if we used the beams for the basic heavy framework and used the smoothest solid doors we had for the floor, that would be the best foundation for the structure that we'd start with. By midday, we had started to cut the wood so that it would accommodate the doors, and then we ended up cutting the doors, creating square edges, all the same length, and we went ahead and notched in the beams for the cross members to overlap each other, and then it was a matter of just putting it all together. Once the basic frame with the doors was on it, we lifted it up, stood it against a wall, insulated the bottom with 1.5 inch thick rigid foam insulation, added a couple of nailers to the bottom of it to add a little bit more structural strength and rigidity, and laid it down and called it a day. The base is 13.5, 14 feet by about 8 foot wide, so it's about 100 square feet. It's all based upon the materials available. We came up with just a very basic idea. Ruben initially thought it should be about 8 foot by 12 foot. The materials we had, once we cut them, it worked out a little bit longer. The width is maybe an inch shorter than that, but you know, you use what you have.
This is the door.
Yesterday's goal was to get the floor done. We got that done. Today's goal is to get the walls built. What we're going to do is cut all the doors to all uniform sizes. Close enough to measure this side here.
Once the doors were all lined up and measured, Thomas cut them all to match the smallest door. Then Seamus spent some time adding a bevel edge to each of the doors. This would help create a nicer look when putting them together later.
Creates a nice little panel look.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it's good. Simple. I like simple.
Simple.
By mid-afternoon, the team had gathered momentum. And now they were ready to begin screwing the doors to the side of the frame. Paul decided to drill pilot holes to the bottoms of the doors to make the screwing into the base easier. Then he instructed the rest of the team on how to proceed.
We're going to bolt these things in there. So I put the clamps here with the blocks of wood there. So we just put the door on top of there. I marked the center of where the beam is, and we're going to put a screw there, a screw there, a screw there, a screw there. Later on,
You already drilled this.
I've drilled those through, and then later on we're going to pull these screws and put bolts in there, because these screws just don't have the amount of shear strength to hold all that roof.
So with their plan in place, the rest of the day looked just like an assembly line. While Seamus and Paul built walls, Ruben and Jessica Ray tried different cabinetry. Then Ruben lent them a hand to get the walls finished. And even though the team was hard at work, the day was never short of comedy.
Not a piano, man.
Once all the doors were up on one side, Ruben used small pieces of wood to screw the doors temporarily to each other. Once all the doors for one side were up and secured, the team went to work on the doors for the other side. This time they decided to lay all the doors on the ground first, attach them to each other, then lift it up into place. Next, the team added a window and began insulating this portable house. While he was at it, Paul decided to make the opening for another window and put it in place. Then Christine began cutting all the doors for the inside, while Seamus replaced the screws with bolts. Next, the team began framing the walls and making the preparations for the front door. By late afternoon, this portable housing unit, made mostly of doors, was really taking shape. Paul began work on the roof, while Joseph and Ruben used the doors that Christine cut to build the inside walls. As the day was beginning to wind down, we asked Executive Director Jessica Ray to explain a little bit more about just what Olympia Salvage does.
Normally when a person is clearing down an old home from a piece of property because they're going to rebuild, they will have a demolition crew come in and just demolish everything and take it to the dump. And what we do is we do a sustainable service where we come in by hand and we disassemble, and then all of the product comes here to our warehouse, so we can resell it and people can reuse it for building their projects. Something that people don't understand when they think about doing demolition versus deconstruction is that in the deconstruction process, we take everything out that we can use and resell, and most of the products or the byproducts that we can't resell, we send them to a recycler. So all of the building lumber, all of the flooring, the windows, you'll see people sometimes even donate furniture and chairs to us, plumbing, fixtures, anything that you can think of that goes into a building, a home, or a structure. We've taken down churches. Those things can be reused for someone else.
And so as the end of this workshop comes to a close, we'd like to remind you that this portable house will be up for auction. If you would like more information about this and other building ideas, you can always visit our website at OlympiaSalvage.org.